Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start today's meeting. We're gonna start with our prayer. Let's go ahead and close our eyes. Let's elevate our thoughts. Let's be thankful for the opportunity to be here with our brothers and sisters. Let's hope that today's meeting can bring us a little bit of love, patience, strength, so we can continue our everyday lives, so we can continue to work in our progress, so we can help the ones around us, all the ones in need, that we can help them with our words, with our acts, with anything that we can give them. Let's not forget all our brothers and sisters in need. Let's think about us. Let's always put them first. And so be it. Okay, so today we're going to start chapter 27, which it's one of the last chapters of the gospel. Me particularly, I really connect with this chapter because when it talks about prayer, it's really the only way to connect, the easy way to connect with God and to connect with our guardian angels. And sometimes we fear because we think that we don't know how to pray, and we want to look for all these beautiful words and the beautiful prayers that we think that we don't know. But at the end, it's all about simplicity. Prayer is really just a conversation with God. So we want to be as simple as possible, and we want to ask for only the things that we really need. But also we have to remember that God already knows what we want, but God already knows what we need. Sometimes it's not what we want, but it's what we need, and we might ask for something and we receive something else in return. Just keep that in mind, that God always knows exactly what we need in our lives. So chapter 27, we're going to talk about these three topics: ask and you shall be given, the quality of prayer, and intelligible prayers. Okay, so a prayer, what is a prayer? Is an act of worship to God. And that is on the Spirit's book from Allan Kardec on chapter 2. Prayer to God is thinking of Him. Is thinking of Him. So that's the way that we connect to God. We think about Him. That's pretty much the way that we have to start a prayer, to do a little connection, is just to have a simple thought of God, is to get close to Him and put yourself in communication with Him. Worship is an innate feeling. It is the creature conscious of your weakness, bowing before the one who can protect you. So when we talk about the innate feeling, in difficult times, when there's no one else to ask, there is God. Think about the kids, the children, when they really need something, they go after their parents, they go after their mom, they go after their dad. So that's what we can simplify an innate feeling is: you're conscious of your weakness and you need the one who can protect you. You bow before the one who can protect you. And what's Jesus teaching regarding the prayer? Jesus had a conversation with his disciples, and his message was that when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites that pray to be seen by men. And why was Jesus saying that? Because as we all know, what's the best way that no one else needs to know what you're praying. You're not praying to show everyone else. You're praying, you have that connection with God, and you only you and God need to know that prayer. It's not to be seen by anyone else. And when he's talking here about the hypocrites that pray to be seen by man, he also says that I tell you, in fact, that they have already received their reward, because the reward that they're looking for is the recognition by others, the recognition of everyone else to see, oh yes, that individual is praying. So they're looking more, they're working on their pride, they're working on their ego. They're not specifically looking for anything in return from God from that prayer. When you want to pray, enter your room and pray in secret, that your Father will give you the reward. So the reward that we're looking for is going to be between us and God. Not going to be about anyone else. It's going to be a conversation with God, and only you and Him are the ones that should be in that conversation. Continue the Jesus teaching regarding the prayer. Do not fail to pray much, because it is not due to a multiplicity of words that your prayer will be granted, but your sincerity. So here he's talking about being simple. When I first started, and I said sometimes we fear that we don't know the beautiful words, and we don't know how to find the words that we want to put on that prayer, and we don't really need that. God, Jesus said, use your sincerity and be simple. That's all we need. There's no need to use. Of course, it is beautiful when we do use those words and when we can, but it's definitely not necessary. How many times, you ask someone to do a prayer and they know, I don't know how to pray. Well, there's not really a formula for that. You use your heart, use your sincerity to God, just like a conversation. Because your Father knows what it is, what you need before you ask Him. So again, when you ask for something, be sure that God knows exactly what you need. It might not be what you ask in Him, but He knows what is good for you. So even before we ask, so some people would say, oh, then you don't really need to pray. You can, if God knows exactly what you want. What about us working in our pride? It's okay to ask. It's okay to ask when you are in need, especially to God. Be humble. Continue the Jesus teaching. When you pray, if you have anything against someone, forgive him, in order that your Father forgive you too. Again, that's a beautiful lesson, and it's always for us to remember before we start a prayer. Do we have anything against someone? Have we asked for their forgiveness? Have we give them forgiveness? Because it is going to be just out of our mouths if we ask God to forgive us about anything, if we cannot forgive someone else. So just make sure that we have our hearts free of guilt, free of hate, and full with love, full of comprehension, and you ask for God for the same thing for yourself. And there is a parable that Jesus told his disciples as well. Two men went out to the temple to pray. And you can see by the picture already the difference between those two men. One is showing himself very humble, and the other one is showing with pride, looking up. And the Pharisee, which is the first one, says, "My God, I give you thanks for not be like other men, who they are thieves, unjust, and adulterers." I fast twice a week. I give a tenth of what I possess. So what the Pharisee pretty much said is that he's thanking God for not to be like the other man, and he's telling God what he has done, that he fasts and he gives a tenth of what he possesses. Then you have the publican. "My God, have mercy on me, sinner that I am." Is he looking to anyone else? No. Is he looking at everyone else's faults? No. He's looking at himself. He's looking at his faults. And what Jesus said, "I declare to you that publican has returned to his home justified, and the other one not. For he who rises will be humble, and he who humbles himself will be lifted up." So the act of us asking, we are being humble. And the act of us just looking at everyone else, what is everyone else doing? Am I doing the same thing? That's not being humble. And that's the conclusion of Jesus on the parable. So what has the Pharisee behavior evidenced? Exactly that. Pride. He's being pride. His pride is up for what he's giving, and especially of what he's seeing other men doing. He's saying he's not doing that. He's doing exactly the same thing, which is contrary to humility, charity, forgiveness, and good feelings. And what about the publican's behavior? He acknowledged his faults, demonstrated humility and sincerity, having more merit his prayer. So he's just looking at his own faults. He's not looking at anyone else, and he's asking God for mercy for that. And what are the qualities of prayer clearly defined by Jesus? The quality, what we want to see in a prayer. Praying secret, humility, few and sincere words, everything that we have just talked about, and the purity of heart. And there is a letter that the Apostle Paul he sent to the Corinthians. I think those letters are also really interesting because I just read a book about Paul, and he was more at his he found God, he found Jesus at already as an adult. So most of his preachings were when he was old and he was a little sick, so he couldn't really travel the way he wanted. So he sent a lot of letters. In one of those letters to the Corinthians, he said, if I don't understand and he's talking about the intelligible prayers, if I don't understand what the words mean, my intelligence does not harvest the fruits, and the prayer does not do me any good. So what he's talking about here is when you read those big prayers, and most of the times there's so many words that you don't really understand, is that going to do you any good? You don't understand what the prayer is. Also, there is some religions, and not to talk about any specific religions, but sometimes when there is prayers in different languages, you can't understand. So is that doing any good for you? Let's be simple. Let's be humble. There's no need really to use too many difficult words on a prayer that we really can't understand. One of the most beautiful prayers, and um, I think we're going to study that on next chapter, but I'm not sure if there is a whole slide on that, is the prayer of Father. Um, the Our Father prayer has everything we can ask and everything that we receive by God. Is a beautiful prayer. Is the universal prayer. And the next chapter, like I said, I believe chapter 28, it has every phrase explained by the Spirit. So it's very beautiful if you guys have a chance to look on chapter 28 of the Gospel. So continue this. Why is that? Why is that those intelligible prayers are not does not do us any good? Because what is not understood and does not touch your heart, and he's completely right on this. It will be set as a formula. Whose it will be in the repeating number. Whose will be in the repeating number. So it's just a repeating number. It's just a formula. It's not going to touch our hearts because if we don't understand. And the value of the prayer, it is the thought combined with the good feelings. So this is again, when we start a prayer, we need to make sure that we have good energy around us. Energy, our thoughts are energy. The energy around us, our thoughts are very important. So we need to be in a quiet space. We need to be alone or with people that we have a connection, and the thought really has to be combined with the good feelings that you're feeling. And again, just be sincere, just use your own words. Doesn't need to be a long prayer. Any sometimes even just your thoughts are sufficient for that. Just be as simple as possible, as humble as possible. Always never forgetting to have good thoughts, so the good energy around you. And then we're talking about God, the supreme universal intelligence, who reads the depths of the hearts, sees the thought and feels the sincerity. There is no way to deny that. We can say whatever we want, but God knows exactly what we feel. God knows exactly our thoughts, and God knows if we are being sincere or not. It is to demean God to believe that God is more impressed by the form than the depth, which unfortunately a lot of people think that God is not impressed by the form at all. But God is impressed by the depth, by our feelings, by our energy, and there's no way to deny that. I believe that's the last. So some of the, reflection I think that we should keep it with us is that a prayer is a conversation with God. If we just think like that, so simple, there's no need to go too far to understand this simple phrase. And the dialogue must be then authentic and impregnated with true feelings for our prayers to be from our hearts. If you don't know how to pray, or if you think that is, just use your heart, just say what it is in our heart. I know sometimes, when we are in a group of friends in the spiritual center, or we ask someone, can you do the prayer? They're like, oh, I'll do the prayer. I don't really know how to pray. Sometimes those are the most beautiful prayers, because it is something that just naturally came from their heart. There was nothing that was staged, or nothing that was, you had time to think of. So sometimes those last minute prayers are the ones that touch us the most, because they are really done from your true feelings, from our hearts. Of course, we do have those prayers that we that are ready, those beautiful prayers that are already ready for us to read, and those are beautiful as well. But again, when you read those, you really have to think, put the biggest thought from your heart. Use the words that comes from your heart. They necessarily don't have to be um, pre-made words. Just let that flow, let that be natural. Those are that's the most important thing that we have to think of when we do a prayer. So that was the end of the meeting. Hi Mark, I see you just came in. I'm sorry about that. And you are on mute, so just unmute yourself if you want to say something.
Apologize for being late.
It's okay. Today we talk about prayers. We talk about, um, that, like, as you catch me on the end. It's definitely this a conversation with God, and sometimes we think that we need to go so far to make a beautiful prayer, and those are, yes, it is beautiful, but not necessary, because it is a conversation with God. So as simple as possible, as humble as possible. And we also talk about sometimes when we ask for something and we receive something else in return, is because God knows exactly what we need. Not that doesn't necessarily mean that it is what we want, but it is what we need, and God knows exactly what that is. So anybody wants to point anything? No, you catch me at the end, Mark. So I'm gonna do the final prayer, if you guys are okay with that. Of course, I'm always gonna put you on the spot. If you want to do the final prayer, you can do the final prayer for us. I'll do it. I can't hear you.
Not me.
Okay, so I'm ready for it. Okay. So let's go ahead and close our eyes one more time. Let's be thankful for the opportunity. Let's take tonight's lesson to remember that a simple conversation with God sometimes is all that we need. It's all what He's expecting from us. To be honest with Him, to be humble, to ask, but never forget to always be thankful for everything that we receive in return. Sometimes it's not what we ask, but it is definitely what God thinks is sufficient for us at this time. Let's be thankful for the spirituality that is always around us, giving us strength, support, love, bringing harmony to our homes. Let's ask them to help to keep us on the right paths, that we might work in our progress, work in our self-enlightenment and in all of those around us, and all those that are in need, that they might come to us. We might be able to help them with our words, with our acts, with our prayers. Let's never forget our brothers and sisters in need. Those that have not waken up, we might help them to see the light. And so be it.